Good afternoon. Hope you've all had your lunch. You're ready for about what, 5 more hours of conversations on this, and then we've got 7 hours left for the polls for folks to go vote until polls are closed. If you are in line at 8 o'clock, you are eligible to vote. So make sure you get out and cast your ballot. Today or this afternoon, I'm really excited to be joined by Angie Hinton, Miss Angie, as our team affectionately calls her. And Kamryn Davis. Angie and Kamryn are part of a PA Youth Vote, which is one of our favorite partners. And we're really excited to have you both here to talk about just what are things looking like for young people, first time or soon to be voters in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. So I just want to turn it over. Miss Angie, I'll start with you, the Executive Director of PA Youth Vote. Tell us a little bit about PA Youth Vote and the work that you all are focused on and what you're kind of keeping an eye on today.
Thank you so much for having us. We are also very grateful for our partnership with Committee of 70 and have been able to do some really amazing things with young people. We are an organization that works year round to make sure young people are engaged. They understand the importance of being civically participatory. And so we provide information that really helps connect the dots between the issues that are impacting young people and voting. In addition to, holding leaders accountable and how to advocate for themselves, their communities, et cetera. And so I have the privilege and the pleasure to work with young people all year round. Most people are very envious of me because of that. And Kamryn is one of the most amazing young people that I've had the pleasure of working with. And so I'll turn it over. She can definitely speak for herself.
I think Miss Angie wrapped it up. And Miss Angie, I enjoy working with you year round too. PA UFO is definitely a nonpartisan collaboration with young people, educators, and community organizations. We're geared towards empowering young people, educating young people, and engaging them, because our goal is not to just make voters for one election, is to make lifetime voters and to have them become civic actors. So I was affected by PA Youth Vote's mission, and now in my role as lead organizer, I work with Miss Angie and Mr. Quinn to make sure that we also empower young people that were once like me to do the same.
Awesome, cool. We were really excited to work with you all about our On Vote Early Day, which I think we'll talk about in a little bit. So this, and among other things, you all have a lot of irons in the fire to help get young people out. So that's wonderful. I'll go to Miss Angie. Why is this election 2023? Why is it important? What are things that you're looking at?
So in addition to my role as executive director of PA Youth Vote, I'm also the president of an NAACP in Norristown. And so many of the issues that are concerning people on a day-to-day basis, the issues that they come to, like the NAACP for support around, are directly impacted by who's in local office, right? So whether or not you have resources in your community, whether there's recreational programming available, what type of justice system are you having at the local level, right? Whether that's disproportionate or not, schools, how they support the students and are responsive to the needs of students, even things such as like libraries, right? All of that is determined by who is in your office at the very local level. So for me, I'm in Montgomery County. So our commissioners and our council, right, take the money that comes in from the federal government and they invest it in your community or not, right? And so many people don't understand how government really works because they're not really getting that education. And so these elections are super critical to your day-to-day lived experience. And so we just are really hopeful that people understand that. That's the work that we do at PA Youth Vote, is to make sure young people understand that. But these people will determine, and impact you on a day-to-day basis most directly.
Yeah, we have this idea that it's an off-year election. It's not an off-year. That's the wrong way to put it. This is an on-year election because this is where a lot of decisions are made, right? So let's turn to Kamryn. Kamryn, what is PA Youth Vote doing to try to engage young people in this election? But then not only this, but in years beyond.
Right. So to engage young people in every election, right? Because we want to make sure they're going out to vote in local and federal and state elections. To engage young people, we first meet some of them where they are. Sometimes where they are is at a community organization. So they may be a part of a local club. We'll join those organizations and work with them and provide that education. We'll go into their schools because a lot of young people spend a good portion of the day in a school, and we'll give presentations and stuff. We also try to engage them in fun ways. So you mentioned earlier, Justin, we had a Vote Early Day event where we partner with Committee of 70, the city commissioners, the mayor's office for youth engagement, a lot of different organizations. We all came together and we empower young people that were eligible to vote and wanted to vote early on that day to participate and vote early. But we also just had speeches and a dance party to help them just get energized about their right to vote when they are of age. So that was our Give Us a Ballot March. We do fun things like that for Vote Early Day, presentations. We go table at the Sixers games, anything to try to get young people to see that, hey, you are an active participant in our democracy, whether you are of voting age or not. And when you are of voting age, you are still an active participant in the democracy.
Nice. I somehow, I don't know how this happened, I avoided the TikTok dance party that happened on Vote Early Day. I don't know how I missed it. So
Jeff, the principal from Parkway Northwest, I think if there was an award given, he would win it because he was definitely the dancing king that day. So
that's great. That's great. So, Miss Angie, what are you hear a lot about youth participation rates, and so like, what are some of the barriers that young people face in voting, and how can we kind of overcome those barriers? Not an easy question to answer.
yeah, I mean, that's the continual question that we're trying to answer, right? And so there's so many things that play a part. I hear oftentimes people say, just vote and things will get better, or they don't understand why young people don't vote, or they think young people are apathetic. I'll start with a lack of education. And when it is provided, it's very disproportionate. And so, schools that are able to have more resources to spend on education typically have the ability to provide a more deep level of understanding around how government works, especially when you're talking about at the local level, right? So they're able to really provide that. Then there's lived experience is another barrier, right? We are primarily working or prioritizing schools that are in communities of color, are underfunded school districts, right? And so these kids have lived in communities like the one where I come from, where there has just not been responsiveness to the community's needs, and that the government doesn't ever look reflective of the constituents they serve. And so when you've had years and years, right, of seeing government fail, you tend to, it's not apathy. I think it's a decision that people are making that they're not going to participate in something that never seems to benefit them. So there's that. And then again, really just the lack of policymakers, right, engaging young people, right? They're not very genuine in their outreach to young people. It's very transactional, and young people are smart and they understand that, and they can tell when you're just, trying to get something from them, or if you really genuinely are interested. And so those are the things that, I can think of at the highest level that really play a part. But I stress upon people, because we're going into next year's election, right? In 2020, we had this whole racial reckoning, right? And we talked about all of these things that need to happen. None of those things really happened as far as policy is concerned. And so the lived experience of people that are in these communities, right? Then you add inflation, it's gotten worse. And so, I was watching something the other day, and young people are just really frustrated with all of those things. And so they're making a decision not to participate in something that they don't really feel is inclusive of them or concerned with addressing their needs.
So turning to Kamryn again, Kamryn, you're a recent college graduate. What involved, or what did you hear about from politics among like on your campus, and then what kind of spurred you to get involved? with PA Youth Vote and voting more broadly. What was your lived experience?
My lived experience actually goes back to when I was in high school. I am a Philadelphia native, born and raised West Philadelphia. And I was actually privileged enough to go to a school like Central High School, where I had a teacher, Mr. Quinn, who was also a co-founder of PA Youth Vote, that talked about politics and civic engagement and connecting the importance of the issues I cared about to my votes. I was a privileged student to have that. But again, growing up in West Philadelphia, even looking at some of my peers that went to other Philadelphia high schools similar to myself, that's not their lived experience. So not every school that I've encountered had a Mr. Quinn or had someone to engage them like Mr. Quinn, or even for students we engage with Parkway Northwest, not all of them had Shaw Santana to help them understand the importance of their vote. So when I went to college, and again, I'm a person that's passionate about voting, one thing I had to learn and become empathetic towards were people's lived experiences. That's not something we all have experienced, somebody actually connecting and making those dots, making that connection for us. And some of the issues that they run into, again, is like, I haven't seen government work for me, like Miss Angie said, or my parents aren't voting because they haven't seen government work for them, or the last time they voted was Obama and they haven't seen any changes. So instead of just confronting them with the facts and the knowledge that I was privileged to have, you have to listen to where they're at first, especially with a young person. You have to listen to what they've experienced and then try to find a way to bring in education. But that education won't matter if you don't meet it with empathy.
Absolutely. PA Youth Votes, you all are growing. It seems like it's an exciting momentum forward for you all. And so can you talk a little bit about kind of what you're all thinking about as an organization in 24 and beyond? You know, you're out in Pittsburgh now. Like, what are some of your organizational goals, your plans? This is a jump ball for either of you. What are some of your things that you're focused on in the next couple of years?
Really trying to, just staff up and scale out so that we can reach more young people. A lot of young people are hurting right now. And, sadly, since COVID, so many recreational things were kind of taken away. And so really trying to figure out how we can reach, more schools, right? And get to more students who see our social media page and are excited about the work that we do. So we want to be able to provide and meet them where they are and be inclusive of them as well. We are a nonprofit, so it's constantly fundraising, but that's what we're really hoping. And then two, as we're working with young people and educating them on the importance of all of this, really to work with funders and, elected officials to have this conversation about, how they need to behave a little bit differently if they really are looking to, increase participation. This has to be a year-round investment, right? Really trying to make sure that at the state level, they're providing the resources to make sure every student has equitable access to this information. And so it's just constantly a struggle for us, is just trying to figure out how we can reach more students, how we can engage in more creative ways. One thing we're really exploring this year is digital. That's where a lot of young people live. And so we have, in addition to Kamryn here, who is amazing in the organizing space, we have Dimir, who is really leading our digital, and he's 22. And so we are bringing in young people, right, and asking them where we should go. And so digital is going to be a big component, of the work we do. We also pay students that work with us. So trying again to figure out how we can create more opportunities to bring in young people to learn this skill, be empowered as they're learning this, right? Like when they're posting on social media, when they're creating digital content, they're learning at the same time. And so, just trying to be really strategic in that way.
That's great.
I couldn't get it better myself, Miss Angie, because I was going to go into our digital space. I know I live on TikTok and I love TikTok. So
I'm sorry to cut her off, but she has over 100,000 followers on TikTok.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, she does.
She always makes it a point to mention it every time.
It's a big deal. Man.
Yeah, she's a big deal. She is a big deal.
You are a legitimate influencer. Oh my goodness.
A little bit. But I love TikTok. So I know that that's how I engage with my work. And I know that other students live on TikTok and love it just as much as I do. But what are ways that you can make some social action or civic engagement content on that platform as well to engage and educate other people like yourselves? So I'm really happy about the way we're expanding digitally. We even came up with a documentary last year, which was fun. I worked with Damir, and it was a Give Us a Ballot documentary that talked about the strategies PAU Vote was employing to get young people out to vote and stuff. So I'm really excited about the way we're expanding. And like Ms. Angie said, I appreciate that she gives us the space to lead and to learn and to help encourage other people to do the same.
Nice. That's great. Well, I know you all are busy, so we don't want to take up your full afternoon. Is there anything else that we haven't talked about today that you want to make sure the public knows about if they come back and watch this as we think about the municipal election today or moving forward in 24?
Just again, highlighting what Kamryn said about, respecting people's lived experiences and, bringing that into a conversation that you're going to have when you're talking to young people in particular, right? We always lead with listening. And so really trying to understand what issues are concerning for young people and then, engaging them in a way that makes it relevant for them, all of this stuff, right? And then again, just the fact that young people are not getting this education. We partner with you a lot to make sure civics is being provided and created. And so really stressing the importance of all people that care about democracy to hold their leaders accountable to making sure they are creating a space that engages young people, provides civic education for them. Because I think, we can't hold young people accountable to something that they're not being taught.
Absolutely.
I'm going to piggyback off of that with the you can't hold young people accountable for something we're not being taught, is that when you are trying to teach us, make sure that you're teaching us in a way that you're talking to your younger self. So how would you like to be engaged when you were 18, 16, 17 years old? And remember your own lived experience whenever you were talking to young people and trying to get them to go out to vote. And also for just everybody, because adults were once young people too. And we also are struggling with grasping the concept of the importance of these elections, especially today's election. Is I know that it might seem like it is decided, but it is very important to make sure that you go out and vote, because there is a lot on your ballot that affects you on a day-to-day basis. And for the young people that cannot vote yet, you are their voice. So listen to the issues that they are caring about as well and bring that decision to the polls with you.
Nice. Yeah, I guess I did want to connect on that because you all are focused not just on first-time voters, 18-year-old and up. You're focused on future voters as well, right? 16, 17-year-old folks who are going to be voting. So that's a really valuable tool that you also deploy. So that's great.
We actually go out sometimes too and work with adults. So we've done events for adults with our toolkit because again, this issue, a lot of young people inherit kind of this belief system because that's what they've seen in their household. And so sometimes we're engaging young people. That's primarily what we do, but we will also take the opportunity to engage older people as well and help them kind of understand why all of this matters so much.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate all the work that you all do and get back on the phones. I'm sure you all be doing a lot of outreach today, but we're excited to continue seeing what you all do and to continue working with you. So thank you for joining.
Excited about your partnership as well. Thank you so much always for having us.
Thank you.